Master 6 says the Swiss Army Knife Cadet is more than enough for your daily needs. Seha QQ that says carrying multiple pocket knives is a complete waste of space. Historic says Swiss Army multi-tools are not EDC.
Why? Why aren't they?
I don't know. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Carry the Way, the weekly podcast where we nerd out about all things EDC gear and maybe try to teach you a thing or two while we're at it. I'm Bernard, the founder of everydaycarry.com, and I'm joined by our editor, Mikey.
Good afternoon.
Yo, so if you're new to the show, welcome. Here we talk about the latest in EDC gear, answer questions from the community, and review pocket dump submissions from our viewers. But today is a special episode because we're not answering questions per se. Stick around, we'll react to some hot takes. But if you've listened before, we just want to say thank you so much for the support. And also a quick reminder to give a thumbs up to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps the channel. So why don't we start, as usual, with a pocket check. Mikey, why don't you kick us off?
Which isn't really a pocket check anymore. We're going into these deep philosophical mental changes. So I'm a little at the midpoint of my mental and physical cleaning out of my closet stuff. So that's kind of just cruising along and just maintaining the course. But I am wanting to get a bit more healthier and start working my way towards a healthier lifestyle. So I just happened to come across a sale at GoRuck. So I picked up this is the Ruck plate carrier. It's upside down. So it's just basically a backpack with a place to hold the Ruck plate and then the backpack straps. That's it. So I have a 30-pound weight that's on a ship that's on my way to me. It's going to arrive here in a couple of months still, but I wanted to, since I caught wind of a sale, I picked up the carrier already just to be ready. And then I just want to, since I'm walking the dog a lot and trying to live towards a healthier lifestyle, I'm going to make that a part of the daily steps and stuff. So just strengthening my aging body, as it were.
Right. Yeah, so for people who are not familiar with what rucking is, you're basically wearing a dedicated backpack that just has enough space to hold a weight plate, right? So that adds some resistance to your steps as you're walking throughout your day-to-day. I see.
Yeah, and just the whole purpose of rucking is it's less impact than running, especially if you're heavier set. It's easier on the knees, it's easier on the joints and stuff. And yeah, just want to keep. I've been having, in my age now, I've been having a little bit of knee pain, so I just kind of alleviate that a little bit.
In your age, I have knee pain too, dude.
Yeah, knee and back pain. It's coming. So trying to stave that off. So yeah, the Ruck plate's on the way still. It's really expensive to ship it, so I had to ship it by sea and all of that. But that's just planning ahead, basically, for what's up. How about you?
Well, good luck on you and your fitness journey. For me, I mean, I'm also on my fitness journey. If I look a little bit gaunt today, it's because I got sick again. But I'm still rocking. Well, I'm like double wristing today. I have the Apple Watch Series 10, and I have it on a really old stainless steel link bracelet. Nice. And this I just keep on my dominant hand. It is kind of annoying, but it has been helping me just stay, a little bit more active, a little bit healthier. And then on the other wrist today, yeah, exactly. On the other wrist today is the MRG B5000 G-Shock. So this is the titanium MRG G-Shock. So a little bit of quartz digital watch action just to tee up something later in the news cycle. Nice. That's what I'm rocking. And then in the pockets, I think, yep, it's still depending on the jeans I'm wearing. But this time it is still the Artisan Wizard, I believe, with the S90B and I think this is Damascus hardware. So
online, yeah.
But haven't really been using my knife too much. Haven't been going out too much. But with the springtime, I guess, weather coming up soon, I think I'll be spending more time outdoors, hopefully, or at least outside, and that'll be fun. So not too crazy of a pocket check, but I think regular listeners of the show can kind of come to expect that. And a lot of the fun will come in the news and community sections. So we'll get started with that. But first, why don't we... Actually, I will pause and see if Mikey has any crazy curveball questions for me now.
No, actually, I completely forgot that I was trying to try out some other knives as well, but since I'm still kind of maintaining the keeping things simple these days, so maybe next episode I'll have a new pocket check. But yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah,
So
no
I think
major
that's
life
a
altering
yeah, I know. I
questions
think that's a
today.
world record for our pocket check section. It's just like we speed ran through that, nothing really new. So that's great. We'll just jump into a quick ad and then we'll get started with the news cycle. So
Cool.
this episode is brought to you by our parent company, Ridge. Ridge is best known for their premium minimalist metal EDC wallets with ARPid blocking technology and a lifetime warranty. But they make all sorts of EDC gear these days, like EDC knives, key organizers, wedding bands, machine pens, backpacks, and hard shell luggage too. I use their products every day, and so do a ton of other people with over 50,000 5-star reviews. They make gear in quality materials like carbon fiber and titanium in a bunch of new matching colors and designs, and you can try them out with a 99-day risk-free trial to see if you like them. And now is the perfect time to upgrade your EDC with Ridge because they're running a 12-year anniversary sale with savings up to 40% off. So check it out at ridge.com/carrytheway. And supporting Ridge means you're supporting this show too. So thank you, and thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring today's episode. Yeah, so let's look at some new gear. I think we got an interesting set of picks for today.
Mhm.
So we will start with the CIVIVI Clingman or Clingman.
Clingman.
And this is actually a design in collaboration with the premier EDC YouTuber, probably Taylor Martin of Best Damn EDC.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is pretty interesting. It's very much like a modern traditional knife, I would say. But because it's produced by CIVIVI, it's more in that accessible budget tier. I think around like $60 street price, $75 depending on the finish there, and it comes in 4 colors. So there's like black and then satin handles, and they're all like this micarta handle.
Right. Right.
But yeah, there are a lot of cool details on this. So do you want to speak to any of them, or I could just run through them?
No. Well, actually, it's really interesting that we or Civivi, they rarely make slip joints, right? They're more known for their button locks, for their liner locks, for
Yeah.
frame locks and stuff. So
Well,
yeah.
this is a liner lock though.
Oh, is it a liner lock? I thought it
Yeah,
was
this
a.
is liner lock.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's a
No,
modern
no, no, no.
traditional. Okay, okay, okay. Gotcha,
Yeah, so
gotcha.
this is definitely a modern traditional, and it has modern features in it. So, I mean, I have it here. So they sent me a sample, and I'll get
Nice.
better B-roll on screen for this too.
Hmm.
But I watched some of Taylor's videos, and he was talking about the process. This has a milled titanium pocket clip,
Nice.
which was like a feature that he really wanted, and he wanted to keep this sort of kind of like traditional like Barlow type
Hmm.
design, but to do that you kind of needed to have a liner lock to keep that aesthetic, because otherwise you're going to have like a button or like a crossbar lock or something visible, right?
Right, right, right.
Whereas just a traditional liner lock is going to be the cleanest and truest form of
That's why I assumed
that
it was a slip
aesthetic. Yeah,
joint.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
going to have the closest expression of that aesthetic without actually being a non-locking knife. So this does have a proper slip joint on it, and then it's a, I believe, 2.9-inch blade, so or
Mhm.
2.99, so just under
Right
three, a
under.
hair
Yeah.
under 3 inch. It's got the Best Damn EDC logo on the backside, dual thumb studs, and a front flipper tabs, and I can get it to roll over pretty easily. And then it's got a 90-degree kind of spine to it, but the overall curvature of the blade kind of droops forward a little bit. And it
Mhm.
comes into this clip point geometry, but a fairly thick blade stock, so that way the tip is a little bit stronger and it's not going to chip off under harder use. And then I think I mentioned nitro V steel and also hollow ground. So pretty slicey, but also kind of like thicker and stronger in the way that the blade stock and the geometry was chosen.
Does it
But yeah, overall it's like the modern traditional budget knife
does it feel
from
like a
Taylor Martin.
little big knife to you, like the kinds you like?
No, it's too slender. It's too
Okay.
slender, and
Despite the
and
thicker stock.
Yeah. And it's when I have like this idea of like a little big knife, it's usually the stouter, chonkier
Stouts. Yeah.
blades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes even when the proportion of the blade to the handle is really close, like almost 1 to 1, I
Mhm.
would say the handle on this feels noticeably bigger in proportion to the
Right.
blade.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of the breakdown of it and all the little features and stuff. So, could just go through some of
Yeah. I
the
like the.
videos here or the
I
pictures
feel
here.
like
Yeah.
the overall design of it kind of fits like Taylor's whole aesthetic. He's kind of more of the outdoorsy kind of guy,
Yeah, totally.
and it fits his style, especially this green one. It's totally
Hmm.
like within his
Sorry.
aesthetic of an outdoorsy guy, and um,
Yeah.
more hunting or um, hunting and outdoors kind of feel to it. I do like the it does feel like it's taking hints from more outdoorsy style knives as well. Like it has kind of like it is a what do you call this? It is it a clip point or is it a
That's a clip point. Yeah.
it's a clip point, right? Yeah, clip point with a downward like a kind of like a bolo or a hatchet type slope into the
Mm.
angle of the blade. It reminds me
Yeah.
of like a bigger knife that you shrunk down to be a folding knife. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
he was saying that like the downward curve of the blade kind of adds a little bit more force or oomph to each of your cuts, just because it's
Yeah.
kind of like
I
already
think that's
dipping
pretty
down
smart.
in there,
Yeah.
and just the way that the shape and the handle are positioned kind of gives it sort of that recurve blade kind of effect, but it's easier to sharpen than a true recurve.
Mm,
And yeah, to your point, like it's very much his aesthetic because he developed this kind of based on his childhood upbringing, like the people who got his grandpa and stuff like that, who got him into knives and the types of knives they use, and they were basically just like Barlow type knives,
right.
or like case, like those just traditional type knives that are pretty small and slim, but they were able to be workhorses.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he was trying to channel. But he noticed that there's a gap in the budget sector, just
Yeah.
because like so many of these knives, like Great Eastern Cutlery, Tactile, like all those ones are pretty
Oh
pricey,
man.
but they're so good, but they're
Don't
pretty
start with
pricey.
me with Great Eastern if you're
Yeah, I
trying
know,
to
right?
get
So he was trying to get this down to around the $70 price
yeah.
point, with the features that he wanted. So I think he was really stoked about this titanium clip in there. But
Yeah.
you know, really cool knife. Probably not my aesthetic though, but this kind of opens up a question that I'm curious, Mikey. Like, if you had to design a knife with inspiration based on, I don't know, your roots, what would that look like?
Putting me on the spot. I actually was thinking about exactly that.
Uh,
I
oh, really?
it's I don't think it would be really easy for me to do. Do you I feel like you have a better idea of something you would design yourself. I feel like I'm gonna have such a hard time to come up with something
Mm,
because I have had custom knives or custom balisongs made locally by the local makers, and even
hmm.
that within the framework of designing a specific type of knife, I'm still having difficulty of like this is kind of is this something that kind of represents me? Is this something that has a story that I have to tell? And I think about all of that kind of stuff, and I feel like it's so hard for me to come up with something original and interesting and something other people would like. I feel like I'd come
Yeah.
up with something and then immediately hate it. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
How,
okay, so for the audience listening, like that was kind of an off the cuff question.
mm.
We didn't prepare for it at all. And I didn't think of it either because I just thought of it as I was reading the notes that I did with the research for the Clingman. But
Yeah.
I think if I were to, like, I've actually thought of making or what my type of knife brand would sort of be. And
Mm.
I think I was leaning towards something like an organic futurism with inspiration taken from natural disasters. I don't know why I thought that would be cool.
Natural
Uh,
disasters.
yeah, because nature is like one of the most powerful forces out there. And then what if you harness that like visually and then functionally into a tool wielded by man? I thought that was like kind of a cool just
Yeah.
angle for it, but it
Yeah.
doesn't personally speak to me. I just think the idea is cool.
Yeah.
But if I had to make something that really sort of went back to my roots as far as like EDC and when I got into knives, it wouldn't sell at all because it's not a relatable story, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like I was on fashion forums and I was like making micro keychain EDC setups, and because I lived in California and I wanted stuff that would fit in my jeans and like fade and look cool in my jeans. So if
Yeah.
I did make a knife, it would probably be something that's keychain size or coin pocket sized,
Hmm.
and it would be kind of,
Interesting.
yeah, futuristic looking. Um, and then maybe it would take just some like Y2K kind of late 90s tech aesthetics added to it. I don't know what that might look like.
Like a Valorant knife, but for a
No, because
keychain.
Valorant knives are a little
They're kind of
too
futuristic set.
futuristic.
Okay,
They're
fine.
too futuristic, but I'm thinking retro futuristic. Think like, the like translucent N64s
Mm,
or the
okay,
iMac G4s, like
I gotcha.
that
I
kind of
gotcha.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Very like I'm a 90s kid, right? So that's what I would think. So maybe like the James brand kind of did the Palmer, that was similar inspiration, right?
Yes,
When
yeah.
they had that plastic body utility knife. I think that would be something in the range of that, but I don't know. I haven't really thought it out. So I don't have as cool of a story. And even if I did, it would take probably a lot longer than the 3 minutes I've been like yammering about this thing to develop. Because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
look at this took 3 years for Taylor Martin, I think,
yeah.
to cool.
You think it's something that
Y-
I collect a lot of knives. I have a good idea of what a good knife is going to look like, but actually, when you
mhm.
start thinking about it, it's not that simple, and then you have to keep
No.
iterating on it to reach the final product that you're happy with, that you think other people might be happy with, that tells a unique story and everything. So really impressed that Taylor was able to come up with basically his dream knife. It's nice that he's able to put a
Mhm.
product out there that's truly original, that truly speaks to his story. So yeah, congratulations to Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, so very sick for him. And it's another example, I think, that's kind of interesting of these creators then making physical products.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if that's just like the natural progression of things or kind of what you need to do
Hmm.
in order to grow your brand. Like we've seen a lot of creator and brand partnerships. Like for example, Ridge has one with MKBHD,
Yeah,
who's a big YouTuber. He's got like 19 million subs or something.
yeah,
But we've seen it. I think Big Eye Design, who we'll jump into a little bit later, they also do. They also make products in collab with other creators and brands in that way. So
yeah,
we
yeah.
just see a lot of that here. And I mean, we've done just a bag and like an orbit key and a few other things, but nothing really
Okay,
like making a production knife or
that
anything yet.
that begs the question that if you were to make a new product, a new, now not technically influencer product, but something you can design end to end and somebody to work with, what product category would it be? It doesn't have to be a knife. If it's not a knife, it can be tech, it can be a bag, it can be a flashlight. So
I
let's
think
start with a
I've
broader
already done
category.
I think I've already done bag and keychain
Hmm.
through Overkey and Manhattan Portage personally.
Hmm.
For me, maybe a watch would be interesting
Ooh, your own
because like micro
watch.
brand tech and like finishing and stuff, it's like there are a lot of possibilities out there. So
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
My
yeah.
problem is whenever I try to think of something I would want to make, I feel like somebody's already done it better. That's the
Mm,
main thing I'm running into. Like I'm thinking of my ideal everyday flashlight, and it's sitting right there. It's a surefire backup. I'm thinking of a nice everyday knife that it's fun to fidget with and can probably take a utility blade. I can pull up an XC Designs, or I can pull up the Riot
uh
one
huh.
that's already like everything I could want in something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So that's
So
part of the struggle as well for me
yeah,
to
you
think of
say
something.
you say that as if it's a struggle. I would argue that you're completely based and you see the perfection in the things that you already own with a deep sense of gratitude, and you
Yes.
feel content, and
Yes.
there's nothing else you could do to make
Yeah.
that better. So props to you as well,
or
Mikey.
or just like
You've reached enlightenment.
admitting the weakness and just like, how do I design struggle?
No,
And then
no,
just
no.
like there's already, yeah, yeah. But
But yeah,
yeah,
designing is pretty hard. So
yeah. I totally respect people who can come up with something truly theirs and see it to the end and create a product that other people would also enjoy. That's respectable.
yeah, dude. So very cool. The CIVIVI Clingman. This just came out, I think, end of February. We're probably middle of March when this is coming out. So yeah, keep an eye out on that. And then speaking of micro brand watches doing interesting things, why don't we jump into
Nice.
the next part of our new segment? So this is
So slick.
a watch from RZE, or I don't know, in Singapore, do they say Z or Z?
I don't think it's Z.
I
I
think Z
think it's
is only
RZ.
Australia, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
RZE. Yeah, okay. So this is the RZE UTD 8000 digital watch. So this is RZE's first digital watch. And if you don't know RZE, they're a micro brand who makes a lot of tool watches made of titanium. So they're very, like, you could just see from this hero image, they're very into like that EDC kind of scene.
yeah,
They're in good company here, but the UTD 8000, I believe, is their Ultra Hex Titanium Digital Dash 8000, and it's it's kind of like a micro brand, watch that's on my wrist, just very durable and ruggedized, for the EDC enthusiast, I would say.
yeah.
So this is it's designed to be like extremely temperature and water resistant and corrosion resistant, shock resistant, stuff like that, because it's using this coated titanium.
Yeah.
But then also, if you look, just the construction of the digital movement module inside has a lot of engineering around shock proofness and water sealing and stuff like that. So I
Hmm.
believe it's 200 meters water resistant. Let me pull up more of the specs here. It's, I think, 200 meters water resistant. It's got sapphire crystal, the grade 2 titanium case that's coated. So that's like, resist scratches and corrosion better. Um, Sealed case back, I think, with torque screws. So it's resisting shock and temperature in that way. A little bit big, 42 millimeters, and 13.4 millimeters thick for a quartz watch, which is, to me, it's like kind of questionable, but it makes sense given just
And
how like
compared
bomb
to
proof it's
19
designed to be.
millimeters of a G-Shock, you know.
Yeah, true,
Yeah,
true. And then standard 20 mil lug width, so you could probably change the straps on this. But I think it comes with a titanium bracelet, so
yeah,
it'd be really cool there. And then it's got the 3 different colors, and the black one has a negative display, so just different options for people there. So yeah,
so a couple of
pretty
notes.
interesting.
I
Hmm.
heard that the Ultra Hex, they're calling it Ultra Hex, but it's a treated way they're working with their titanium. Apparently, it's really. So, I think somebody has tested it, and it's on par or approaching the toughness of the tegimented steel of what Zin uses.
Of Zin? Oh
Yeah,
wow.
and
On
what
titanium, no less. That's,
untitled
yeah.
exactly, and even more interesting is their bracelet kind of looks like the H bracelet of the Zin.
The H-link
Yeah,
bracelets,
the
yeah.
H-Link bracelets, and also titanium digital with sapphire crystal for under it's like 350 gonna
Yeah,
retail,
this
right?
starts with pretty good pricing. The
Yeah,
promo pricing, so I mean, today it's early March, and I don't think it launches until end of March.
yeah,
But like 169, then 199.
yeah,
169 is elastic, right? And
yeah,
then
yeah,
329 with the titanium bracelet that's treated or coated and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, those are pretty good value,
yeah. Compared
even in
to
like the micro brand
yeah,
scene.
compared to like a digital like a G-Shock in titanium with sapphire, that's MRG series already, right? Isn't it? Which is
It's like MRG or slightly below. I think that the titanium G Shocks they start at like around $1,000.
yeah, exactly. See, and
Yeah,
this is going to compete almost head to head with that kind of aesthetic and on paper with the specs. So
yeah.
yeah,
I will say the module on this probably isn't as feature packed as
mm,
something like a G Shock. You
yeah, yeah,
do get this split display here with day and then date and then also time, and it does like the 24-hour time, and you get like multiple alarms and stuff like that,
yeah,
and some chime functions, stopwatches, but it's not going to be as robust as a G Shock module. So
yeah,
depending on the feature set you need. But if you just want to tell the time and you're not really, you don't really care for analog watch faces,
yeah.
then this is like at a glance so much visible, or so much more visible. It maybe not the negative display, but like,
Oh man,
something like this
the
really easy
negative
to read.
colorway is just so up my alley with the H bracelet as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
That is such a very me watch.
Oh yeah. So here's some of the specs up here. Um, Oh, full auto calendar to 2099 and a lifetime guarantee is pretty sick.
Nice.
Yeah. Battery life's around 3 years of a CR2032. And it's got an LED
I'm
backlight.
really impressed with the specs per dollar value prop this
Mm-hmm.
is giving. Like really tough titanium with bracelet and sapphire on top of that, 200 meters. That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if we wanted to nitpick, there are ways you can see that like it's not going to cost as much as the G Shock that I'm wearing because it's like grade 2 titanium versus grade 5. It doesn't have
Yeah.
like these special developed metal alloys for durability and whatever, and like the finishing is not. But that's not the point. It's a micro brand and it's something interesting, something new.
Yeah.
And I think this will resonate with a lot of EDCers, especially those who don't care about like the art and soul of mechanical watchmaking, but instead just want the tool for the job.
Mhm.
And yeah, but that's another can of worms, the whole quartz versus mechanical thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, one last thing that I thought about and is kind of strange to think about is or like kids in the latest generation. I don't know what we're on, Gen Alpha or something. A
Gen
lot of
Alpha, I
them
think.
don't know how to read a clock if it's
Yeah.
not digital.
Read a clock, ride a bike, and swim are the three kind of like big skills, quote unquote, these days that I'm noticing. Yeah.
Oh,
I
I didn't
have
know that.
I have friends, like I have friends in my age group who don't even know how to ride a bike. So it's kind of like one of those skills that is not getting passed down as much as I would expect.
I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm terrible at bike riding because of the knee pain, and I'm not great in the water either. But I can read. I can read a
One
clock,
for
so
three.
that's good. I can also write cursive. I write cursive and read analog clocks every day. So good for me. All right.
Nice.
Pretty cool stuff. Again, titanium, RZE watches. Pretty cool. So speaking of titanium, let's jump into the last part of our news section.
Nice
This is
segues.
from our old friends at Big Eye Design, and this is not super new,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth mentioning. So people who might not be familiar with the TPT Slide, this is like one of the OG
OG.
like OG multi tools with utility blade. Like the utility blade tools are really popular now,
Yeah.
but I think the last episode we just did was what the Gerber EAB
Mhm.
and stuff like that, which is another OG one. So it's nice to see that the OGs are kind of um, iterating and innovating. Maybe if we saw like the Rexford Rut or something come back in the 2025 model, then
They
uh,
did come back with a V5 actually. Now that you
oh, okay.
mentioned
Well,
it,
there you go. Yeah. So there's apparently something as simple as the utility blade. There's always something to improve, but this one now comes with this like easy blade swap feature.
Mhm.
So it's just easier to replace blades on the fly. But for those that don't know, this has also, so aside from the easy swap functionality, also a thicker just stock overall, so it's just a little bit stronger.
Yeah,
But it has like a bunch of tools just um, kind of hidden into the body. Let me get a good picture
yeah,
of it.
built into the
But
design. So it's a bottle opener. It's a hex bit
yeah,
driver. You got a scraper in the back. You got a
yeah,
1/4 bit driver in the lanyard below the lanyard hole, and
yeah. You got a
yeah,
bunch of wrenches here,
yeah, the
little bottle
wrenches.
opener lip
Exactly.
there, and then the insert itself slides out. But then on the other side of it, instead of just a blade, it could be like a camping fork,
Yeah, I've
or
always
yeah, there.
the fork has always been fun. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So here there's like some of the changes here. And yeah, this is the camping fork on that side, so you don't have to expose a blade when you're using it. And then here's like a just an overview of all the different functionalities in it. But I think it's just so well done because they're not overtly labeled, I guess,
mm,
and the form itself informs the function, I think, instead of having to like label everything. But
yeah,
it's just a very clean looking piece of kit.
yeah.
So
And I don't remember how they used to do the original blade replacement, but this one it's just a matter of just extending the blade out to the end, popping that door,
that
the
lever
lever,
thing, yeah.
yeah, and then easy swap from there. just do it in reverse. I don't remember how you
Yeah.
used to replace the old one. Do you have to disassemble the whole thing?
I I want to say you had to unscrew one of the hex screws or something.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or I think so, or like pinch or something. I forget. But even before the TPT slide, I think there was just the TPT where it didn't slide. I could be wrong. It was a long time ago. It was
It's
like
been around for a
maybe like
while.
10 years or something. Yeah. So it was a
Yeah.
long time ago. But anyway, this is the newest one. Just came out probably end of February. $89. But it is grade 5 titanium and it's like an original design and it's feature packed. And I think if you're going to jump on sort of that utility blade trend,
Yeah.
and you don't really care for the flashy, like gravity blade type stuff or whatever, and you want to spend a little bit more than, say, even something like, I think the James Brand Palmer or,
It's like
um,
60.
yeah, or
Yeah.
the Gerber that we just showed in the last episode, which is closer to 20. This is an option that's a little bit
More
higher end,
premium. Yeah.
but not too crazy. Yeah.
If you want to put together a photo like that one in the RZE header, full of titanium
uh,
stuff, yeah.
yeah,
Plus the
pretty
fact that
cool.
the design is mostly unchanged means it just tells me that they got it right the first time.
It works. Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Yeah. So that will wrap it up for the news cycle. And then we'll have all of this linked in the show notes in the description of the video too.
Cool.
So why don't we jump into the next segment here? And
Ooh,
this is slightly different. So if you guys are longtime watchers of the show, you'll know that in this next segment, we usually answer questions from the community, but we decided to change it up a little bit, test something out. And we asked our Instagram followers what hot takes about EDC they had, and we'll respond to those. And I think
sure.
if people like this, if this is fun, we'll open it up to other places to solicit your hot takes.
Yeah.
But we got a bunch here to start, so why don't we jump into it? So Master Six says the Swiss Army Knife Cadet is more than enough for your daily needs. How hot of a take do you think this is?
I think it's not too much of a hot take. It
I think it's
is, yeah.
pretty lukewarm, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you said the Swiss Army One, which is just the blade, that
Uh
might be a
huh.
hot take. But the Cadet has a few other tools attached to it. No scissors though, because that's a Pioneer X. But the Cadet has a lot going for it. So it's still technically a multi-tool on top of just like a solid blade. So I don't think it's too much of a hot take. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's that much of a hot take. And I guess I agree with it for the most part, as far as like, if you needed to carry an EDC multi tool, a lot of people, I think, can get away with just a well selected Swiss Army knife. And a lot of people have been getting away with that for decades, right? So before like the
Sometimes
whole
millennia, even like Swiss Army has been.
yeah, it feels like
Victorinox
it's
has
been
been
around
around.
forever, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, I think so, but who am I to say what people's daily needs are?
yeah,
But as far as just like when we speak from a purely pragmatic, functional kind of way, yeah,
yeah.
you can get a lot of done based on that. And I would say a lot of people's daily needs are not maybe not that crazy, at least compared to when life was harder and technology wasn't there to make things convenient and safe
Yeah.
as it is now. So that's kind of where I would go with that. I don't think it's too crazy of a hot take though.
I think a hotter take would have been a knife beats a multi-tool any day of the week. I think that would be a hotter take.
Mm,
Like I would take like a straight folding knife over a Leatherman. I think that would be a hotter take.
depends on what you use it for and what you're willing to carry, because Leathermans are usually heavier. But so
Yeah,
I can kind of see why saying something like a Swiss Army knife would be more, because it's
yeah,
kind of it's almost basically just a knife. It just doesn't open very quickly. Doesn't
yeah,
have pocket clip.
and doesn't
Yeah.
lock and stuff. Yeah.
Well, maybe we're not off to the hottest start. Uh,
We need to
okay, the
warm up.
next.
It's warming up.
Yeah, we need a
Yeah.
warm up. So Steve's Photos LA says carry hearing protection even if you don't carry a firearm. Yeah, I think that's slightly hotter, because I would recommend that. I've done
Yeah.
videos and like promoted the idea of carrying hearing protection, especially because people are finding themselves in louder environments that are not strictly necessarily the range.
Mhm.
Um, right. So I use them in like movie theaters or really crowded restaurants, music events. I was going to say sporting events. I don't go to sporting events. Sorry, guys.
Sports.
But yeah, I mean, I've been to like an esports event and I wore them. But yeah, it's just, for me, it's because hearing damage is irreversible. So it's not like something you're like, I was responsible this one time and then like I'll recover from it, just like get a lot of water and sleep and stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's like if you hear something sustained, noise that's too loud for a long time, it can affect your hearing.
If
So
you break your ears, there's no repairing them. There's no resting it.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was, I don't know if it was last or the previous episode, but I also mentioned that I exclusively travel with noise canceling earphones for a plane, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just like a plane is generally sensory overload for me, between the engines, crying children, noisy people watching or listening on their phone or whatever. So that's my number one use case of not just hearing protection, but actively blocking out
Oh, sure.
outside noise. So yeah, so not too much of a hot take. I think it's fair, especially now with people carrying AirPods or some sort of earphones or headphones with noise canceling. It's become kind
Mm-hmm.
of a standard thing. So not too much of a hot take these days compared to before, where it's kind of like a social faux pas, right? Like if you're always on earphones and people can't talk to you, now everybody's on earphones, so it's
I
not so
know.
much of a, yeah,
Maybe a hotter take would have been like stop carrying AirPods or earbuds or something because you open yourself up to lack of uh,
engagement.
environmental situational awareness
Yeah,
and human connection, I guess.
yeah,
Right? I think that would be a hotter take.
yeah,
But we're getting there. We're
yeah,
getting
yeah.
there.
We're
So
providing a hotter take than the original take.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
we
need
react
burner
here.
Instagram accounts, yeah, and
Yeah.
then just plant our own hot takes. Okay, so the next one, thank you, Steve, for your hot take. The next one, Leo.lpll says, tiny pocket pry tools aren't useful for much.
Ooh, okay. This is a very popular product category, so this is a little bit
Hmm.
spicy. Um, I don't think a lot of people use the pocket pry tools for prying, honestly. I feel like, just in my opinion, a lot of people still use them as bottle openers, since they have the scraping edge, which is
Yeah.
just sharp enough to get through tape, and it's easier to clean as well for gunk and stuff.
Wait, bottle
But
openers or box openers?
the pry tools,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. You can still
Well, you
use
said
that.
you said like there's a scraping edge that's just sharp enough to get through tape. I was
Yeah,
like, how does that correlate to bottles?
no, a pry tool. I didn't say bottle.
I could have sworn you said bottle opener.
No, no. I might have actually. Check the
That's why I was
tapes.
like, do you mean box opener?
Right, right. Yeah. So, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Okay,
I do
okay.
mean the tiny pry tools.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The stuff you put in your keychain, stuff like your
Which
lint.
do have bottle openers on them occasionally.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Yeah.
you have your Lynch Northwest, popular, really popular EDC pry tools. So many in the market right now from custom makers
Hmm.
and stuff. And yeah, I do feel like rather than actually prying stuff, people use them as their main box openers, because they have that slightly sharperish edge that's enough to get through tape or punch through tape, at least and start the
Yeah.
motion. But
Okay.
yeah, other than that, I think they're just a nice addition to an EDC flat lay, honestly.
Okay. So maybe hotter take
Mm,
to follow the
hit
trend of
it.
this. We take the lukewarm take from the audience and then we make it hotter.
Yeah,
So saying tiny pocket pry tools aren't useful for much. Instead, the hotter take of this would be that tiny pocket pry tools are better for opening boxes than your EDC knife. In the sense that they're legal to carry more places, probably don't cost as much, fewer moving parts to fail, and they do the same thing. Maybe
yeah,
not like 100% of the efficiency, but the maintenance and cleanup is a lot easier because you really only need a slightly sharpened edge if
yes,
you're just doing the basic packing tape puncturing and pulling through. So
yes. I agree with that.
yeah.
I agree with that slightly hotter take. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, I don't think I've carried a pocket pry tool. I think I have a Glow Rhino one,
Mhm.
just because it's cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
usually when I'm actually in a situation where I need to pry something, I'm reaching for my Leatherman and using one of like the thicker, what's it called,
Yes. That
flatheads.
that's the tool
That's
I
just like the
use. There
yeah,
is
that's just like
there
the closest thing.
Yeah, yeah. There is a scraper tool, right? In the free series, like the thicker flathead
Hmm.
style, with a sharper kind of curve to it. That's the main tool I use on that Leatherman on the
For
T4
prying.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I do have
yeah.
like a Gerber pry bid. That's one I
Mhm.
actually use for prying open a nailed down crate. But other than that,
Right, right.
yeah, actual pry tool. I do see the appeal, and it's nice. It's a nice like EDC object that's an expression for artists and custom makers. But as far as actual utility, yeah, I think it takes the place of a knife in a carry as far as pure functionality. And
Okay,
insofar as
another
opening a box, yeah,
sure. Another idea, maybe another hot take is, this question or this take kind of poses that for it to be hot, it kind of assumes that people are out there saying that pocket pry tools are useful. But when I think about it, are there really evangelists for the pocket pry tool defending its utility in that way? I don't think so. I feel like they just have it in their photo, and just because like it looks cool. And
yeah,
nobody's saying like, yeah, the core of my EDC is this pocket pry tool. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Fair, fair, fair. Yeah,
So I don't know if anyone's actually saying that.
yeah.
We're not. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, pretty good take, Leo. We agree, I think. Let's move on to another one. So, a bunch of these are kind of a lot in the same realm, but we have one from Seha QQ that says carrying multiple pocket knives is a complete waste of space. And then another, the best money says no one needs to carry 3 knives. And then I guess to some extent, in a similar vein, Creep It Classy says we need a lot less knife than we think we do, size and blade steel. So they're talking about like the size of the blade and also the performance of the blade steel.
Yeah.
So I would say some of these are, and even to the first one from Master Six, it's all kind of just like you don't need that much.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of interesting that this is the hot take, or
Yeah.
the sentiment that their hot takes are going for, is that this idea that you need all the stuff in your EDC.
Yeah.
Maybe I feel like the people who listen to this show don't share that sentiment. I
Yeah.
feel
I
like we
think
just might be a different crowd.
no, but I think the sentiment and misconception comes from the fact that people, when they submit EDC photos or they see EDC photos online,
Uh huh.
it's a lot of knives as part of the dump, and it's sometimes a lot of those photos are representations of maybe a system or a collection, rather than actually, oh, this one goes into the boot knife, this one goes into the hip pocket, this one goes into
Hmm.
the pocket. It's more of like people want to show off a cohesive and possibly aesthetic collection and a rotation, rather than the actual photo representative of every single thing that goes into the pockets. I think that's the
Okay.
misconception there.
I think there's an excellent hot take to go down a rabbit hole related to that,
Mm,
of just what people parse from a pocket dump photo and
sure.
what they think that means. But let's not jump into that yet. Uh, just the premise of needing more than one knife.
Mm.
Do you agree or disagree?
I agree in terms of backups, but not like on person.
What does that
Like
mean?
I could have one knife on person as the actual EDC, but I will have one in my backpack. I will have one in my sling, just like redundancies.
Okay, sure.
Not
Okay,
not
sure.
as the actual act of carrying multiple on my person, like a bandolier or something, or one in each pocket or something like that. Yeah,
Uh huh.
that's
Uh
not
huh.
my that's not how I need it. That's not how I would use it. So yeah,
I will say when it comes to backup knives, I carry backup knives. And usually when I need to use my backup knife, it's because I've lent out my main knife to somebody and not because I've forgotten a knife. And I
sure.
was also gonna say like, who even owns like 3 knives to show in the photo or whatever? And then literally just like within arm's reach, I have like 3 knives right
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think people should feel like pressured or that's a requirement to carry multiple knives. But I can see that some people can try to justify different knives for different use cases.
Up until
It's kind of
actually maybe what 5 years ago, I didn't even carry a dedicated knife anymore
mhm.
because I would
Yeah,
carry a Swiss Army knife, and that was more
yeah,
than enough for me. Like speaking to the original question, um, and only recently when we started to get samples and I started getting interested more in knives and started buying my own. Before that, I wasn't even carrying one. So
sure,
yeah.
sure. Yeah. And then what do you think about Creepy Classy's like slightly different take about we need a lot less knife, not number of knives, but also the size of the blade and the quality of the steel.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot more people would benefit from a knife that's more corrosion resistant than like a super steel or like a
Mm,
extremely large 3.5, 3.7 inch knife. I think
mm,
the composition in terms of regular use and day-to-day use case from a normal urban citizen is more important rather than like super steel and like a huge daily knife. Of course, it's going to be dependent on what you do day to day. Some people actually do use it for work or they do need
mm.
a larger blade and stuff like that. But other than that, for a normal um, desk dweller
Yeah.
like us,
City dweller.
yeah,
Yeah.
utility knife is more than enough. Even a tiny pocket pry tool could be more than enough. But
Right. Right.
yeah, but I would argue that blade steel, like something like an LC200N knife, which is rust proof, would cover a lot more bases than something like a huge honking huge blade and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I see this kind of take, I always think about just how things were throughout history or in the past. And I guarantee you there were people like Taylor Martin's grandpa or something who was getting a lot more done with a lot smaller knife with a lot worse blade steel than people are these days, right? So if you look
Yeah.
at it from that lens, it's like, dude, it's definitely more than enough.
Yeah. We are
Yeah.
definitely spoiled for choice in a modern
Yeah.
knife collector perspective.
Yeah. I guess so to bring it back to that other hot take rabbit hole that I was thinking of, it's kind of I see this a lot. I don't even know how to formulate this into a hot take, but it is an observation as somebody who puts out a lot of EDC content and looks at a lot of EDC content
Mhm.
in terms of pocket dumps, right? When you see the comments from people, it's like they lack the ability to experience nuance or think of context or read the description or anything. It's like you just see it and then their mind fills in the blanks about why they need those knives or what they use it for. And then they just like comment something that's like not productive or helpful,
Yeah.
sometimes even mean. That like happens to me. And it's just like, man, how did we get here? But that I think that's a different thing and not maybe not actually a hot take or point of discussion we
Yeah.
can have related to EDC. That's more of, I think, a commentary on social media, but that
Yeah.
is where people see a lot of this stuff, and uh, I think, I think that does contribute to the sentiment that people are having these hot takes about. Yeah.
And I think just as a whole, just the fact that we got like four similar questions about carrying knives, I think to
Hmm.
this day, it's kind of still like a polarizing aspect of EDC, in spite of being such a big part of it. Because if you think about it, how many people think about the next 50 people around you, like within your circle? How many of
Hmm.
those people actually carry a knife to begin with? Like it's such unless they're like directly associated with you and are influenced by you to carry. Oh,
Uh,
Bernard or Mikey actually carries a knife, so maybe it might be useful for me to carry one too. Take out those people. How many people like in your circle, like the next 100 people in your circle, actually still
sure.
carry a knife? Right? It's not going to be a large number of people in that
Yeah, for me,
group.
a small percentage, but I do think we need to address that. One, you are not in America and that, or in the
That's the
United
other thing.
States.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's your thing, and maybe a lot of our listeners and international following has that sentiment where it's like you don't need a knife because we don't have them where we live. And then
Yeah.
for me, I lived in New York City and Los Angeles, so it's
Two of the most.
again not really, yeah, places not really where people
Yeah.
culturally normally carry a knife versus say somewhere in the South or Midwest or something of the United States where it's a little bit more common.
True.
if
True.
if you were to pose that question somewhere there, it might be like, yeah, like 100 people out of 100 people have
True, true.
something on them.
Fair, fair, fair.
So that, yeah, so we just have to acknowledge that. But
Yeah.
um,
But
yeah,
yeah,
so
main point is, yeah, it's still a polarizing topic, just because of geography,
for sure.
just because of legal limits, just because of general interest of people. Like, especially now that we're, like you mentioned earlier, we're hitting Gen Z, Gen Alpha. How many of them are
Hmm.
even interested in knives anymore? Like, we live in a more technological tool based
Yeah.
lifestyle now, rather than a functional, actual physical tool type of society. So,
Okay. So this reminds me of something else. In around 2015, 2016, this is when we start to get into more of the more modern social media age. Maybe
mhm,
it's still heavily image based or text based. So microblogs like Twitter and Tumblr, and then also Instagram, right? But we had a piece done, like a cultural piece done, or sorry, I like did an interview with Vice magazine, for example, and they
mhm,
were doing a piece on the culture of everyday carry as this emergent response to people feeling overwhelmed by social media and having these digital lifestyles, so
yeah,
that they wanted their EDC to be a physical totemic aspiration towards the good old days of getting outside in the great outdoors, going on adventures, because they were confined to their desks and didn't have access
mm,
to nature in that
yeah,
way. So having this like feeling of gear and preparedness made them feel that way without actually having to go and do them, but feeling, oh, I'm prepared and I'm the type of person who
yeah,
identifies with, being able to fix things and protect things. So I just thought that I just was reminded of that because you're talking about how we're more in a technological age. But I don't think that EDC now is used for that purpose. I think everyone is just like maybe fully into the digital kind of space. Because even my parents, are watching reels and stuff. So that's kind of when I know
yeah,
it's like, yeah, kind of cooked there. But
yeah,
okay. I don't want to push this like agenda of like the internet is bad, because like every week we show up and we're like talking about stuff on the internet. But
yeah, yeah.
anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and how EDC can, at least for some people historically, the EDC gear was kind of a response to that sentiment about how we use technology.
Yeah.
And then I don't know that it's the same now. So
Let us know. Knife's good. Knife's bad. Big knife's good. Small knife's bad.
no,
Yeah.
I think some people might comment and say that like, yeah, I agree, but the overwhelming majority of people that find our content, they like knives. So
Yeah. Knives
yeah,
are cool.
yeah, knives are cool. I have three on my
knives
desk, so
knives are
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Um, do we have time for another one? Okay, well, I just think this one is pretty funny. To contrast on to our first hot take, where Master Six said the SAK cadet is more than enough, and then Historic says Swiss Army multi tools are not EDC.
Why? Why
Is
aren't
that?
they?
I don't know.
Now that is a hot take.
Yeah, shows up, leaves the hottest take of all time, just nuclear, refuses to elaborate, leaves.
My job
Swiss
here is
Army,
done. I'm
yeah,
out.
exactly. Swiss Army multi tools are not EDC. I don't know if they're talking about like the Swiss Tool Spirit X, or the butterfly style multi tools, but
Yeah,
those are definitely EDCable. Like they're
I
definitely
know.
pocketable and carryable and durable enough for the everyday.
And if it's
So
just
I don't
like
really
Swiss
know
Army
what this take
tools,
is about.
if it's just like Swiss Army knives in general, how dare you? Number one,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
they've literally been around since the 1800s. So how
I know.
how yeah,
Probably before like EDC was coined as a term,
exactly, yeah.
no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like these are part of military issue. Actual, you have to carry this every day as part of your military kit. So yeah,
So there are a lot of ways to unpack this. What if
yeah.
they're based and saying that Swiss Army multi-tools are not EDC because they predate the term EDC and should be treated with the utmost respect and not
That's
lumped in?
I think that's too deep in the iceberg.
Okay, sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, a less generous interpretation might be they're saying that Swiss Army knives are, for whatever reason, not worthy of the term EDC, maybe because they're not tactical enough, or they have plastic scales, or they don't flip out and lock, or something. What do you think that might be?
I think they need to elaborate more on what this
Mhm.
means because that is like a really no, that is a real hot take that just they just dumped there with no
Yeah.
explanation. Yeah,
I mean, with their username being historic, maybe it was the first interpretation where it's like,
could
no, these
be,
have been around before EDC. Yeah, maybe they're a
could be.
historian of tools throughout time and mankind.
But what is
So,
EDC really?
dude, that's what we've been trying to figure out in this whole podcast for the
I
past year
know.
or something. And that is kind of like to my point earlier about when people lack nuance and comprehension. They're
Yeah.
like, dude, every time I do kind of like an EDC pocket dump appreciation video or something, people are like, how is that this EDC? Like that, there's no way that fits in his pants pockets. I'm like,
Yeah.
just believe me, bro. I don't know. It was sent to me. All right.
Why
But speaking
why
of
make
things that
a
are,
why make a folding X? What the heck is that about? That's not EDC.
yeah, yeah.
By
Well,
by one
speaking
of the
of
best
things
EDC.
that
Yeah.
are sent to us that we react to, why don't we jump into our viewer submissions segment? So, well, before we do that, please leave a comment and let us know what you think about these hot takes. If you have hotter takes, we can react to those later. Maybe we'll do like an actual video on the main channel that kind of unpacks some of these with a little bit more depth and nuance. But it was pretty fun, you know. Give it like a B minus or something.
Yeah. C
As far
plus,
as
B
our
minus.
the hotness rating of the takes,
The
I think
Scovilles are
we can. Yeah,
kind of low
exactly.
still. Yeah. You can come
Yeah,
up
like
with hotter, I think.
I'm not reaching for the milk. This is maybe like kimchi level of hot take. I
Mm.
think it's,
Yeah, like
it might roll up over time, but if anything, it's just like kind of sour.
yeah, like dim sum
So
chili oil level of
sure,
yeah, yeah. Cool, cool.
sure. So yeah, let's jump into our viewer submissions. So this flashbang of orange comes from Stephen Davis or at EDC underscore ESQ. And they said they're a lawyer in St. Louis, an EDC novice, but enthusiast. And this is one of their orange and silver EDC in honor of their son, Aaron, whose favorite color is orange. Well, I already love that. There's a personal connection to it. So it
Nice.
says, his son is away serving on a 2-year church mission in California. So I put this together because he misses him. And it's a Seiko Sports 5 GMT, and the GMT is used to track his local time zone and then also where his son is at. And then the worry stone is etched with the family motto. And the coin is a Mexican peso that was a vending machine change instead of a quarter. And the Leatherman Wingman is the first tool that they bought, the first multi tool that they bought. And he's saying that it's been frowned upon by so many on YouTube, but having since tried many other multi tools, I've returned to it because of its simplicity, lighter size, and bigger scissors. You know, if it works, it works. So
Frowned upon.
the
Wait a minute.
yeah, I mean the Wingman is kind of like kind of more of like an entry level one. So I can kind of see why some people might suggest an alternative, right? It's also not as popular as we see.
Anymore.
Sure, sure, but we
Yeah.
see a lot of other Leathermans, usually Skeletools, Wave, Free, and Arc.
Yeah.
I would say are the
I
most
remember
common
when
that we see.
the wingman was popular along the times of like the sidekick. Remember the sidekick?
I do not remember the Sidekick.
Yeah, it was
When I think of the Sidekick, I think of
the phone.
the full QWERTY phone that flips out and it's like peak industrial design of the
Yeah,
late
yeah, yeah.
90s, early 2000s. But
Yeah,
yeah.
but I remember during the time of the wingman, it was always the comparison. Like even if you do a Google search, Leatherman
Mhm.
sidekick, the first result, the first like suggestion is versus wingman. So
Okay,
it's that
okay.
era of this was pre Wave Plus, pre
Yeah,
Charge
yeah.
TTI, and this was around like early
It's like,
Juice
yeah,
level era. Yeah,
old gen
old
Leatherman.
gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
previous gen Leatherman. So,
yeah.
um, anyway, Steven is saying that NAFS is his favorite knife brand, but Vosteed has been hitting it out of the park lately. So, in
Agreed.
addition to the Vosteed Martin that we've given away on the show here, he's recently bought the Corgi V and the Parallel, and he loves them all. The Seiko GMT is the watch that he wears the most, but he owns two others that he really likes too. He would love a Grand Seiko Spring Drive watch someday, as we all do. But in the meantime, is there another affordable mechanical watch slash brand that you recommend? Ooh, dude. For
Ooh,
me, around I don't know how much this costs. This is like $500, right? The Seiko 5. For me, at $500, if you like the vintage look, I'm really into Laurier. That's my last
Laurier.
micro brand automatic mechanical watch, and I think it delivers a lot of value. But you need to like the vintage kind of style.
Right.
But anyway, let's break down the rest of the stuff here. Stephen already did a good job of explaining things, but we got the Vosteed Martin, the Gondek EDC, Hank, and Worrystone, I believe. No, I think it's a Worrystone as well. And then the Leatherman Wingman, tactile turn aluminum bolt action pen. So Mikey shouted out that one before as like one of their more affordable offerings.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Seiko Sports Seiko 5 SSK 005 with the orange GMT, and then on this Hank that we mentioned. So I like that this has like genuinely functional stuff, like good gear, regardless of whether or not it matches. But it's cool that it does match.
Yeah.
And there's another added layer of like personal connection to the EDC, which we always say is like, if you really want to, enjoy and get the most use out of your EDC, like make it mean something, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this one has that significance built in, and I think it's really cool and reflected in, especially like tracking 2 time zones. For a loved one, I've done that before. So
This made me realize that orange is such a popular color in EDC, especially for bag interiors. But the actual tools themselves to put together a full orange EDC is not that easy. Like, can you think of many other orange handled knives and orange dialed watches? Like you get,
I know Doxa does orange styled
yeah,
watches.
Doxa, obviously the original, yeah. Seiko
And
Monster.
you know where that comes from, right? Like, yeah, and the Seiko Monster, like deep dive watches, right? Orange is like just for some reason when you're underwater, it's like the most visible or most legible.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, can you think of any other pen makers that do like a bright orange, like flashbang orange type of color? So actually putting together like a full orange EDC is not that easy. And yeah, it's nice to see that it's all represented here in like really super top tier selections, if not like premium prices and stuff. It's everything still within reach. It's like a super reasonable priced carry, but still I think very superlative and useful and looks great. And with that added story on top, that's just perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Very solid. I'm gonna throw you a quick question, Mikey.
Sure.
If not orange, what do you think will be the next big color that we'll be seeing more of? I have an answer in mind.
You go first. Let me think about it real quick.
I think it's purple.
Purple?
Yeah.
Like lavender type stuff?
No, like Barney or the Joker.
Like royal, like nice royal, vivid, saturated purple.
I think so. Like a deep purple, almost black.
I like that.
Because I think it would be similar to like dark green or like navy, where it's like it can be close to black, but it's just slightly different. I think that might be the next one.
I like that. I like purple. It's a really nice, like deep purple is like a really nice fancy color, like royal purple. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then if you agree with me, then I agree. We'll move on. So thank you, Stephen, for keeping it real. Hope your son is safe and has fun out there, and you guys get to connect more. So we'll jump into the next one. This is from Harun, and they are a teacher in Turkey, and this is their setup for home, gardening, trekking, and just general daily use. So in here, we got a Bosch stubby ratchet screwdriver, the Victorinox German military issue pocket knife, Knipex Cobra XS pliers, the Leatherman Skeletal CX, Leatherman Signal, and then the Leadlenser P3 Core flashlight.
You know what's funny about this one? People always ask me for recommendations of like a good bit driver. Dude, get the actual tool bit drivers with a nice stubby handle.
Yeah,
that'll be way better than like a lot of the EDC tier stuff because it's actually built to ratchet and give you enough purchase. Yeah.
I get it. It works better, but it doesn't look as cool as like a Leatherman Signal, bro. Look at that.
Okay,
the comparison. There is
no
comparison.
Take. Would you pick a EDC custom Seigaiha bit driver over like a proper Wiha bit driver? Which one would you?
I mean, I own the Wiha bit driver, so I guess you got me there, caught. Like.
Yeah, I do have a titanium one from CountyCom, but it's not like nothing fancy. It's just
sure. Okay,
titanium.
but I
Okay,
guess the difference for me is I'm not posting photos of my Weehas bit set.
true.
I'm
Okay,
actually
fair,
using
fair,
it to like drive the screws.
fair,
So
fair, fair.
yeah, but yeah. What do you think about having the Leatherman Skeletal CX and the Leatherman Signal,
I think this was
and
a
I guess
case
the
of
Knipex too?
yeah. I think this was a case of what I mentioned earlier that
Hmm.
sometimes you're not carrying both. Maybe it's just a rotation. They
Sure,
mentioned that they do home gardening, and
and
then
like
trekking.
hiking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So maybe the signal with the topo is the outside one, and then the one
Hmm.
around the house is the skeletal, since it's a bit more
That
compact.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How
So it's
dare
a
you
rotation.
like yeah, how dare you make sense and have a reasonable take? Yeah.
Maybe that's the hotter take to be more reasonable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, because I could see people being like, "There's no way you carry two Leathermans. That's like so much money, like what a waste or something." But like,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense when you put it in that context.
Yeah.
Um,
Saved by the
yeah,
description.
yeah, exactly. So that's another ask. Then, if you guys are gonna submit your carries to us, like, feel free to yap on and on about how this works for you, because I think other people are very interested not only in the gear that you use, but also how and why you use them. I think that's a
Yeah.
very important aspect of looking at this pocket dump type content. I think it's very helpful. So,
Yeah. Same, and just like Stephen from the previous one, like
mhm.
having a story is always much more interesting as well to make that human connection with the tools as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Any other notes for Harun?
Um, it would have been interesting to see if there were, I don't know, more like teacher type supplies in here, but I guess, depending on how you teach and like have the class is structured, maybe you don't need actual tools for that.
What if
Or
they're a
it's like in a
shop
different
class
bag.
teacher?
Yeah, yeah, right. Or I don't know, teaching people how to garden. Okay. But very cool. I also like the cohesive green and black.
Yeah. Excellent.
They're
Excellent.
very cool. Nice contrast to the flashbang orange from the previous
Yeah.
submitter. Yeah. So we'll jump into our final one here.
Let me set this up. The person who submitted this actually sent this by email, and then
Oh, okay.
his first paragraph in his description is what he sent via email, and he was saying that he keeps on seeing these really nice curated shiny stuff, and he wanted to submit his quote unquote ugly EDC. And I'm
Mm.
here to tell Ken, the submitter, he's completely wrong. So let's go about it. Yeah, let's go into it
Okay,
with the
sure. So Ken
description. Yeah.
Gray, yes, submitted this EDC with the disclaimer that he's like, oh, well, here's my ugly picture of my ugly gear. But it's what he's been rocking for the past 10 years. And he's a computer programmer and then used to be a poultry raiser. So, uh, so he would commute into the city day to day for his programming job, and then he would go to the back acre to fix chicken fencing or something, right? So he thought that this would be like an interesting kind of foil to the types of gear that we see. And he has like these interesting leather storage options,
I
but
know.
he just says it's like it's cut from 10-ounce veg stand leather, and he had laying around, and then he just like cut slits into it and sewed in some elastic, and then he made his own like pocket organizer with different setups in them.
I
And
know.
then yeah, so like, and this one he was mentioning, this is his latest multi-tool, the Roxon, and he was saying that he used to have a Leatherman Surge, but then he wanted to like replace the tools that were broken. Leatherman's like, yeah, we don't do that. So he ditched that and went with Roxon because they're fully like open source modular. You can buy the separate implements you want. So that's like a pretty cool option there too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of gear in here. Do you want to just like, you want me to just jump through the list?
Yeah, I mean, just to point out, in addition to the not so common Roxanne multi tools, he's got
Mhm.
some really interesting stuff as well. Like the Spyderco Smock is a sorry, it's the dagger knives anaconda. It looks I thought that was a smock actually.
No, no, no. Yeah, it's not the
My bad,
Spock.
my
There's
bad,
no
my bad.
hole. There's yeah.
Right, right.
But yeah, so he's got the dagger knives on Anaconda, the Swiss Tech Utility. Dude, this is a blast from the past. I don't know if
Yeah,
anyone remembers
another
this.
OG one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had this. Dude, I had this on my keychain with the mechanic aircraft cable ring thing that I didn't recommend. Hopefully, this is
Yeah.
not like wearing out on you like it was for me. But it looks like the braid is like coated, so hopefully it doesn't. fray like mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so people who don't know, this is like a multi-tool that looks like a key, but when you open it, there's like blades. It's actually quite dangerous and probably not a great tool by today's standards. But
Mhm.
back then, man, it was heat. So then,
Everybody
okay,
had
what else
that
do they got?
tool. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody had the key tool. So they got the on-grok storage tube. So this is just like an aluminum airtight, watertight storage tube with like cordage on it. So that's interesting. I'm not sure
Or
what they
duct
do with
tape.
that. I think
Could be duct tape.
I think it's cord. I have it on the big screen. It looks like
Okay.
cord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. And then he's got the shocks open fit. I believe those are earbuds.
Yeah. Those are the bone conducting style. Yeah. My wife's
Yeah, yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
And then for the wallet, it's just the Zootility Tools Pocket Monkey. Dude, this is another old like piece of gear. So
He
they
did
made it, like you said,
say.
like the past 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, he did say.
It's like a piece of metal that maybe I could actually click through it and put this on the screen. But it's like a piece of metal. Can you guys see that?
Oh man, that is such a
Yeah.
classic.
And then he's just like fixed it with a rubber band or something so that he can like put cards and cash against it. But this is kind of like when one piece multi-tools that fit in your wallet were a thing. There was also like the Card Sharp, which was a folding knife that was the size of a credit card.
That was
There's like Wallet
endlessly
Ninja.
pirated.
Yeah, a bunch of
The
other
card
stuff,
shop.
lever gear. Anyway, we're straying off the path here. Let's go back to his EDC. And then there's the Zippo Classic in Chrome, and then the tech accessories. This guy right here, down here at the bottom, the tech accessories retrieve mini grappling hook. So if you're not familiar with
Wow.
this, I think it's like either aluminum or stainless steel, but it's like this canister that has these spikes in it, and then you put the spikes and stem them into these holes on the side so that it has
Yes,
grappling
actual
hooks.
spikes, by the way. Actual
Yeah, yeah,
spikes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom of the canister is like a rare earth magnet or something. So you don't use it to like rappel or climb things like you would with a real grappling hook, but instead it's for retrieval. That's why it's called the Retrieve Mini.
Yeah.
And you can use it to like, I don't know, if you're up on the roof and you drop something, you can just like drop that down and like pick up your keys or whatever. You drop your keys or like a screwdriver or something, right? Without having to like climb down the ladder. So
Yeah.
very niche use case, but
Or if you
it
have
works
like
for people.
if you have like a child or a pet that's getting away from you, just like just
No.
no, just kidding.
No.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't come for us. Mikey
No.
didn't mean that. It was just
No.
a joke. And then, so they've got the Cold Steel Pocket Shark, which, if you're not familiar with this, I believe it's a permanent marker, but it's just very persuasive.
Yeah. It's
right?
it multiplies the force.
Sure.
Yeah.
For when that ink just won't come out and you
I
just
know.
gotta write a little bit more pressure.
Yes.
Yeah, then for the flashlight here, this is more of like a task light. It's the right angle flashlight. This is the WowTac A2S. And then there's a Night Eyes S beaner on here connected to some other stuff. I think it's like what, a County-Com tweezers and another Roxxon Flex companion. I think that's a knife.
And if I'm not mistaken, that could either be a canister or like a pea lighter from County-Com as well, attached to the S beaner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of functionality in here, and it looks like definitely looks like it's been assembled over a decade. So if people want to know what like a real EDC looks like, it's this. You may not like it, but that's peak performance. And he calls it ugly, but this is what you guys actually want, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. And I vehemently disagree about calling this ugly, because you got some really good stuff in here.
Yeah.
So shout outs to Ken.
I mean, I could see why some might think it's kind of ugly, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that.
I am most curious the last thing that he grappled with, that thing that he retrieved with a grappler. So Ken, if you're listening, let us know. What was the last thing you grabbed with that thing? Is it a small tool or is it a small living thing? Let us know.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of a good segue out of the mess that Mikey's got us into. So thank you for submitting that and all the submissions from today. But I think that just about wraps it up for today's episode. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Please hit the subscribe and share with a friend and follow us on socials. And if you want to be part of our EDC community, feel free to hop into our Facebook group or Discord server for more real-time discussion with other EDCers. And lastly, if you have any feedback for us or questions you want answered on the show, or if you want to submit your EDC, you can shoot us an email at podcast@everydaycarry.com. So thank you so much for listening to Carried Away. I'm Bernard.
And I'm Mikey.
And until the next one, peace.